Yeah. We get lit, we get fly, we get drunk, we get high, but to the masses, we a podcast called Verified. I am your host. I am JopauL. We are brought to you by Radio Pushers and Results in No Hype. Make sure you check us out at theverifiedpodcast.com. And right now, we have a very, very special guest. I'm actually super, super excited. We have a woman that arguably, besides Maria Davis, could be considered the godmother of hip hop. She has affected so many different careers, some of the greatest people of all times, and she does it such in a humbling way for the love of the music. She has the not-for-profit called the Rap Coalition, which is such an instrumental tool to artists, nowadays that are in real shitty deals and people that really want an education about how things actually work in the music business. So without further ado, the Queen, Wendy Day. Thank you so much for coming to the Verified Podcast. How are you doing today?
I am so happy to be here. How are you today?
I'm great. It's a truly historic day in the world, in America. And
in the world.
I'm not talking about the inauguration. I'm talking about that Wendy Day is on the Verified Podcast. But yes, no, I'm doing phenomenal. I've been awaiting this for a long, long time. It seems like yesterday that, my old manager was like, we need to get in touch with Wendy Day. She helped Eminem get a deal, and I'm like, but who am I? Like, she's not going to work with me, like there's other MCs that have budgets and stuff like that. But I'm great, and I'm so excited that you've taken the time to sit down with us today, especially on a day that the country is in a transition, let's say, for the better.
And the world is happy. I got to tell you, I set my alarm. I'm not a morning person, but I set my alarm for 8:00 this morning because I really just needed to see the clown get on a plane and leave. Like I had to watch that. Like, bye, Felicia.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was literally like, na 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 na. Hey.
Exactly.
Bye. I did a story post this morning on Instagram to a Beatles song where I was like looking at Donald Trump and I was like, you say goodbye, and then to Biden, I say hello. So I couldn't even sleep last night. One, because I was so excited about this interview, and then two, because I wanted to see what he was going to do in terms of the pardons and if there was going to be any antics or any sort of uprising. So I'm glad we got through. I don't want to say unscathed because
we were scathed.
If ever
we got scathed up the ass.
Yeah. And I wonder what his agenda was in the and I'm not going to get too political because I never really like to get political on these things. I save that for Instagram because there's plenty of people to fight with on there because they have such different ideologies. But I wonder what his methodology was in the pardons that he gave with, especially to the hip hop community. Like, what's going on there? Now, I'm not.
Yeah,
I mean, so I heard Lil Wayne, Kodak Black, and Harry. I didn't hear of anyone, and he couldn't have fucking pardoned Bobby Shmurda. Like, come on now. Like, you had to leave him in there, or see murder. Like,
it's federal. I think everything he pardoned was federal. I don't think he can pardon state.
Right.
And I don't know because I'm not the end all be it on this, but I think he can only do federal pardons as president. I mean, he's a president. He can do whatever the fuck he wants, but
he could try, and he certainly did.
Yeah, he did. Kwame Kilpatrick too. Remember the hip hop mayor of Detroit?
Yes. Okay. I mean, thank you. Goodbye.
See ya.
So, yeah, exactly. What's the old line? I think Nino Brown, coined it. See ya.
Exactly. One thing's for sure though, like his poor wife is probably like, oh God, he's back.
Man, fuck her too. Man, yeah, I know. I have to stop. I have to, stop this filter and allow me to speak my mind sometimes. It's great.
I know, you're so shy.
And so Wendy, how are you? I mean, I wanted to ask you because it's because we still are in a national pandemic. I always like to ask my guests, mentally, how are you, your family holding up? We've experienced, terrible tragedy during this, and it's really, it's tested us in ways that we really haven't been tested. So I just wanted to see, how are you holding up, mentally? How's your family and
Thanks for
everything
the
like that?
check-in. I love that because nobody really asks that. But I'm sad that people passed away, and I'm sad that people got sick. But having said that, COVID's been really, really, really good for me. Really good for me. I'm very much an introvert, so sitting at home for a few months was
Same,
heaven.
same. I'm the most popular loner there is.
Same here. I did really, really, really well staying at home on my own for a couple months. I learned that the reason that I go out isn't necessarily because I want to. It's because I have this fear of missing something. So when everybody else was locked at home too, I was fine. As long as everybody's locked down, I can do the time easily. It's
Right.
when people started moving around, I felt like I should be out moving around because I didn't want to miss something.
I feel you. It's almost like when it's like on a Friday night when it's like pouring rain. It's like I could go out, but it's like probably people are staying in because it's raining, so I don't feel like I'm missing something.
Right.
But it's always so weird though, because on my timeline it's like people are out, like in Atlanta, in Miami.
I live in Atlanta. It's normal here. Like it's not even like there's, I know. And the really weird thing is, at first we weren't spiking. So I was like, how is everybody still chilling in the strip club and nobody's getting sick? Well, now it's starting to spike. So it's like, you're all making each other sick. So I'm avoiding everybody.
I mean, I take it very, very seriously. I mean, I'm almost like I'm the mask mayor around here.
You're extreme. Yeah.
Almost to the point of anal, about it. But I have a good reason. My father just had open heart surgery. He had a triple bypass, and his immune system was very compromised. And and my mom, I mean, and they're in their 70s, and my mom, she's like 4'8", so she really can't do much in terms of helping him move around in terms of his mobility. So I've been his caretaker. So I've been,
bless your heart for that.
So I've been, thank you so much. And I've been kind of to the point of, everyone needs to act right, because I don't want to have to, act this crazy, just to see my parents. I mean, I'm wearing a mask regardless, but at the same time, it's like, how are you people out there doing this? I almost feel like in the hip hop community, and I've said this before, it's like, if you have any respect for hip hop, it's like, I kind of feel like you're disrespecting Fred the Godson when you go out there and you're partying without a mask, that when COVID is still out there. Right. We lost one of the potential greatest MCs that could have been, but never was. Like, that was our Richie Valens almost, that, was taken way before his time because of a fucking deadly disease. And it never had to happen.
Crazy.
It never had to happen.
It's I don't want to say it's preventable, because it's not, but we don't need to be out here raw dogging it,
Exactly.
We can take care of ourselves, we can take care of each other, and we really should.
Right. I mean, I just feel like it just shows decency to humanity just by showing that you care. Right. It's like, show me that you give a fuck about me, or show me that you give a fuck about my father, because you don't know that, like, I'm taking care of him. It's like, if you're an asymptomatic carrier and you're walking around with it and you give me something, it's like, I'll kill you and your whole fucking family. Are you kidding me? if the disease doesn't kill me and my whole family first,
Right. Well, then you can come back and haunt them.
Exactly. So, Wendy Day. So, talk to me about your upbringing. I want to know about, I want to know about little Wendy. Okay. On the come up, because in most of the podcasts or the interviews that I've seen, it's like you don't really talk about, your childhood too much. So I want to learn, this is more like a therapy session, like, tell me about your parents. Tell me about your
don't mind if I do. So I grew up in a wealthy neighborhood, but we were kind of poor. I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. We were Christian. I learned at a very early age to be comfortable with being the outsider. And that became pretty important as I built Rap Coalition, because very often I was the only white person in the room, and it didn't make me uncomfortable. It wasn't weird to me. My whole life I had grown up being, the outsider. So I was comfortable with that. In fact, if you want to see me get uncomfortable, put me in a room full of people that look like me. It makes me, makes my skin crawl a little bit. Not in a necessarily bad way, but just in an uncomfortable way, you know?
Mhm. No, I
Um,
understand completely. I mean, I'm Jewish, so I went to predominantly, Italian Christian, school. So I
you
was
get it.
kind of the outcast, and it's like the only time I really felt kind of, at home, was really like, well, when I went to the Jewish community center camp, and I was amongst, all the other Jewish people, But the funny thing is, amongst all the Italians and Christians, I was friends with like the one Puerto Rican, that was in the school, and the one black person that was in the school.
Right, right.
So I understand.
So you get it. Like when I was 12 or 13, there were maybe 3 kids in the class that weren't going to Hebrew school after school. So I was sort of the outcast. And like I said, I got comfortable with that. It also gave me the opportunity to learn about other people and other cultures and not find it weird or other. It was
Okay.
just really kind of cool. And as I got older and realized that the world was made up of more people, I just wanted to learn more people and be around more people and really get to know people for who they are, as opposed to how much money they had or how they dressed or how they, like whatever materialistic things were going on with them.
Okay. Okay. What did your parents do?
My dad was the guy that worked at the post office. Like when you came into the post office and you bought stamps, he was the guy at the window that would
Okay.
sell you stamps. And my mom was a homemaker.
Okay.
Yep. My dad left when I was 11. He went out for gas one night and just never came back. He had moved all his stuff out like earlier
Mhm.
that day, but we didn't know that. So he went
Mhm.
out to put gas in the car and just dipped. And
I guess you couldn't find a gas station. That
I guess
sucks.
he couldn't. Yeah, I guess he couldn't. And
Oh well.
the thing exactly, the thing the
Well, I'm
plus to
sorry.
that,
In
it
case
made
you have
us
like a
even
good
more
relationship with
poor.
them. I'm sorry.
Say it again.
I said when I said, oh well, I'm sorry. In case you have like a good relationship with them.
No,
No. Okay.
no, yeah,
So,
no. like, oops, I forgot to go home. Um, the great thing about it, like the silver lining in that, was that um he was the wage earner, right? So it made us like super dirt poor, but it forced my mom to become independent and go out and get a job. And she really, like, she took care of my sister and I. Like, she really stepped up and she became this amazing woman that I really admired. I didn't really, as a kid, I kind of resented that she was always there. It's like all my friends had working mothers and I didn't. Like, she was just always at home and she was cleaning the house and putting food on the table.
no, you couldn't
And
get away with
as,
shit then. Mommy was always around.
yeah, and as a kid in the 70s, I also recognized that that was a little subservient. And in the 70s, it was the women's empowerment was kind of big. And
Right.
even as a
Coming
kid,
right after like the traditional like 50s nuclear family,
correct.
and progressing past like the hippie generation to now,
Yes.
women in the workplace, independence,
And because she wasn't, it felt like a little bit old school. And I recognized that even as a kid. But as she became independent, like, she started making money by taking care of an older couple in the neighborhood. And then she would be at other people's houses, like preparing dinner and stuff for them. So she was hustling. She was finding a
she's a hustler,
way.
baby.
Yes, she was finding a way to like really make money and take care of us. And then she had a background in bookkeeping and accounting, and she hadn't worked in like 20 some odd years that she was married to my dad. And she started going to night school in Philadelphia, and she chose night school because she wanted to make money during the day, but she still wanted to be at home when my sister and I came home from school. And then she would go take the bus to night school at a high school. and she refreshed her like bookkeeping skills and brought them up in 20 years into the into present day in the 70s.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Are you the older sister or the younger sister?
Younger. I'm the baby. Yep, there's a 3-year difference.
How much older was your sister?
3 years.
Okay, so she at this time she had like the ability to kind of like watch you when your mother went to high school.
Yeah, because she was 14, I was 11. She was 15, I was 12. So yes, exactly.
Okay.
And for us, it was like freedom. Like we were super excited that we got to have some time alone at home. My mom didn't see it that way, of course, but she brought her skills up to date, and then she started getting jobs as a bookkeeper, and things got better financially once she did that. But I saw that hustle and that drive, and it really motivated me. Like it became normal for me. So when I turned 17, I graduated from high school, and I got the fuck. Like I moved out like 2 weeks before I graduated. I was out. I just was always more independent, and my sister was too, but we were always more independent than we were raised. And that was really kind of cool.
We always want to get old faster, and then once we're older, we're like, it's
like damn, why did I do that?
Yeah, can I get a couple of those years back?
Exactly.
But I mean, I respect it because even me and my journey, it's like I started like hustling and taking odd end jobs, and I was a dancer for DJ companies at like 13, 14. So it's like I was like making money, and then I was hustling,
right.
And I was like, one, I actually, I know people want to declare their emancipation, to kind of like get away from, their parents, because they're, in whatever situation. I actually, and I mean, this is so long ago, so it's like I can admit this. It's like I wanted to declare my emancipation because I didn't want the liability to fall on my parents if I ever got caught.
Wow, that's really cool. Like you really thought about that.
Right.
Because most kids don't. They don't think about that.
I had that presence of mind that I was like, because I always knew that it's like, if I went and broke someone's window, it's like I can't pay for it. It's like my parents would be liable for it.
Right.
If I got into a fight and I rocked some fucking kid's face, I stabbed his face with his nose bone. My parents would have to cover the medical bills. So
right.
I always thought I was like, I need to separate myself because I understand that, I didn't know what the word liability meant. I know what it means now, but I never wanted the liability to fall on my parents.
That's really cool.
So I wanted to declare my emancipation, but it's like I was a 16-year-old kid. Who the fuck is taking me seriously?
Did they stress education when you were growing up?
My mom's a teacher. My mom's
there we go.
She speaks 5 languages. She taught advanced Latin. Yeah, I was in like a brainiac genius house. Speaking about accounting, my father was an accountant. He was a CPA.
Okay.
My grandfather was an IRS auditor. And I worked for the bank for 10 years as a banker. Street kid working at the bank. They had no idea what they were doing hiring me.
Right. But your parents are proud. Like you went on a path that they could understand.
Yeah, they stressed education. Me in school was I did good in school. Like I learned school was a wake-up call because it was, if you learn to play the teacher's game, you'll pass.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
And I look at it now as like learning for me back then was just like a waste of time. But in retrospect, as a MC and as an artist back in the 90s, and I say this in a lot of podcasts, he who has the most vast vocabulary is the most dangerous MC that's out there. So she stressed learning, even though it was never like I never really gave a shit, or I never really liked it, but I played the teacher's game, and got through everything that I had to, and that was that.
I became a survivalist. I was always very good at school. I was always in the advanced classes, but I was a fuck up back then. Like I smoked a lot of weed, and it's funny because I don't smoke now, but back then,
I don't smoke weed either.
Yeah, and I know. I see that you don't.
Weed smokes me.
It's funny. I was just telling one of the folks I work with, when I quit smoking, I was at the end of high school, so maybe 16 when I stopped smoking. I didn't know what to do with all the extra time. That's how much weed I smoked. When I quit smoking, I didn't miss I didn't miss being high, but it was like, what am I going to do with all this extra fucking time? You know, it was just crazy because I spent so much time getting high.
No,
But
I
school
feel
was easy for me. And then something happened when I turned 17. There was this 7-Eleven, like a convenience store
you.
near my house. I guess it was about a mile away. And I used to walk up there every night, and I would stand on the corner and smoke weed and take Quaaludes and drink Southern Comfort was actually my drink of choice back then. And we used to mix it with orange juice, and we would just get high and drunk every night. And all of a sudden I noticed these older guys coming around, and by older I was 16, 17, so they were probably 22, 23. They weren't like, older 50, and they were still hanging on the corner. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't want to become that. I
Yeah,
don't want
is this my future?
Yeah, like I don't want to be 25 hanging at the 7-Eleven getting fucked up. And it had such an impact on me that one day I just stopped and changed my life. I was always expected to go to college. Even in like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, school wasn't 12 years. It was 16 years. Like, you went to high school and then you went to college. So I always knew that even though we didn't really have money, I always knew that I was going to go to college. That wasn't weird.
Right. It was kind of
Master's degrees and doctorates were weird, but a college education, not weird at all.
Yeah, I feel like in our generation, I mean, I know I'm a tiny bit older than you, so I'm just talking about
Oh, you're way younger.
the year that college was the way to go. It's like that was basically instilled in all of us.
Yes.
And in reality, all the information that you really need that you would actually learn in college is available online for free now.
Yes.
So, Google is just as good as Harvard. If you read the journals and you understand what it is that you're reading,
yes,
it's there for you. So
taught me two things. It taught me to be analytical, which has served me really, really well. And it taught me to finish what I start. Because even when I was in art school, I realized I went to art school. Yeah. I went to a 4-year program that also had academics, because I didn't want to just study art. So I had to, I studied French, I studied literature, history, civilization of the world, that kind of shit. And really enjoyed it. I wanted to be a little bit more well-rounded than just an artist. And I was about halfway through. I think I was just finishing my sophomore year and realized that that wasn't what I wanted to do. I would rather go get an MBA. I would rather be in business school. So after I finished art school, I went and got an MBA. So I have this really cool balance of, business or right brain, left brain, right? This really nice balance of business and art. And that's really served me well in the hip hop world as well.
Absolutely.
When I moved to New York, I went to New York for a weekend and heard the Mr. Magic Marley Marl show in 1987, and came home, quit my job, and moved to New York because I wanted to be in that world. Not working in music, but I wanted to be at the clubs, and I wanted to have access to radio that played the music that I really loved. And that was kind of the beginning of my passion, for hip hop. I've been listening to hip hop since 1980. So I've been a fan since 1980, but 87 was sort of that line in the sand that was drawn, where I realized I was willing to change my life to be around the music a little bit more than I was growing up in Philadelphia. And
Isn't that crazy how music has that kind of power to do that. And I'm glad that I'm talking with somebody that can appreciate that, that actually, embodies that, because I feel music on a totally different level than like the average music consumer. So it's like, so when I hear you talk with that passion, that it was like music, hip hop, made you change your life.
Yes.
And
it has many times. Like, there was a Chuck D lyric. Remember, I'm from Philly, so now I'm living in New York. I'm in Soho at this point in time. And there was a Chuck D lyric where he talked about Malcolm X, which then made me go read the autobiography of Malcolm. And from there, Malcolm was talking about when he was incarcerated, there were some books that he read. I went to the Schomburg Center and NYU's library, even though I wasn't a student there. And I found some of those books and I read those books. And then that took me down this whole path of African American studies from an Afrocentric perspective. And the school that was closest at that point in time was back in Philly. It was Temple University, and
Okay.
it was a program run by Dr. Molefe Asante, who's one of my heroes. And so I was taking the train back to Philly so that I could get a master's degree in AFAM studies once I'd already moved to New York. And that was kind of ironic because if I had known, I could have fucking done that when I lived, it was 3 subway stops from my house, right? As opposed to taking an hour and a half train ride, not to mention the expense in order to, to take classes. But
that's dedication, right?
It is. And it's sort of a pattern in my life. Like when you look over my life, I'm always that person that goes the extra mile and without thinking twice about it. Like you mentioned, a rainy Friday. There's never been a time in my life where weather has been a determination on whether or not I leave the house, whether it's snowstorms, 105 degrees, torrential gale force winds.
I think you got that from your, yeah, honestly, even though he left, I think that's the only thing you got from your father, because you worked from the post office, no rain, no sleet, no snow.
Exactly. I had met once I got into the music industry, around 99, 2000, somewhere in there, I met Tom Silverman from Tommy Boy Records. Mm-hmm. And Tommy Boy Records back then was like QC is today, or TDE. Like they were a hip hop label that really fucking mattered. And he said to me, why don't you come meet with me, on like Thursday of next week? And I did. And it was a snowstorm. And I walked. I had to walk like 30 blocks. This is one of those in my bare feet. I used to walk a mile to school. We had 5 grand for 5 cents and it was stale. I didn't have a coat. I didn't have shoes. It's one of those stories. And I went to meet with Tom, and he's like, he was the only person in the office, and he lived nearby, so that wasn't weird. But he's like, I didn't think you were going to show up today. And I'm like, of course what are you talking about? I had a meeting. And he's like, I want you to work with me. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to work at a label. I'm running Rap Coalition. He's like, well, you know so much about like marketing and promotion. What do you know about the financial side of labels? And I'm like, nothing. I know nothing about the financial side. So he's like, here's what I'll do. He's like, come intern with me for 3 to 6 months. I'll open up all of our books to you. You can just come into the office and just go from department to department, learn as much as you can. And I'm like, wow, this is a really great opportunity. I'm like, okay, I'm going to hire somebody like part-time to answer my phone in my office. And then I'm going to come do that. And he goes, well, I'm going to make it really easy for you. I'm going to give you like $100 a week to help pay for somebody to answer your phone for you. So he made it so easy for me and so, rewarding for me. It's like one of the greatest things that I've done. It was amazing.
He gave you an offer you couldn't refuse.
I could not refuse it. So for 6 months, I really got to learn about recoupment and how much money artists make after their label takes their cut, and how every deal is different, and how you have to go back to each person's individual contract to figure out what they get paid. Like everybody doesn't get paid the same.
Right. There's splits on everything. There's 360 deals. There's
some people pay 50% of their, for their videos. Some people, it's all recoupable. So I learned at that point in time that it's really about what you negotiate. And there was no rhyme or reason to it. Like, Capone and Noriega were there, African Bambaataa were there, like some really Naughty by Nature, like some really big artists at the time. And it wasn't like the biggest artists had the best deals. And that taught me so much, and I'm so thankful for that experience, because I realized that it's all about leverage. And
absolutely.
You get what you ask for, you get what you negotiate.
Well, I have 2 questions for you. One, I wanted to know, so while you were learning the bookkeeping end of it, were you calling your mom and saying, Mom, what does this mean? What does this mean?
No, because she so didn't understand what I did. Like for both of my parents, like what me running Rap Coalition, me starting my own business was a letdown. Like they were both from the world of you get a job, you stay there 25 years, you get a gold watch and you move on. You know, you retire and then you do what you want when you're retired and you're too old to really move around and enjoy it. And
they don't realize they birthed a hustler. That was not acceptable.
Yes, they did not understand that one iota. And they really weren't supportive of that. I didn't realize that my mom was proud of me until a couple of years before she passed away. She passed in 2014. And in maybe like 2 years before she passed, she told me, you know, you're really a champion for the underdog. Like I'm really impressed by what you do.
I like that. Champion for the underdog.
But you know, like even like during my career, there'd be like an article that appeared about me in the New York Times or the Chicago Tribune, and I would send it to her like, see, Mom, I'm doing great. And she'd be like, yeah, but you could be a lawyer. You know what I mean? Like she never really understood what I did. And there was a little bit of fear too. Like, you know, rap was seen to the outside world as dangerous.
Of course.
She feared that I would go to these rap events and something.
Yeah, you're a white girl, and you know you're gonna get raped by Neanderthals, and you know the rappers are all bad.
Standing near somebody, you know, and it was a genuine fear. My dad, not so much, but my mom, it was really a fear, and she expressed that often. So I didn't really have the opportunity to bring her into my world because it caused her undue stress, and I didn't want to do that.
I understand, and
so
I'm going to give you a heads up. We might have a celebrity pop in, which I had so many people that wanted to be like, "Oh my God, tell Wendy I said hello." You know, like I've been in the industry for a ton of years, so it's like I've been connected to so many different people. So when I told people, I was like, I'm having Wendy Day, I need some juicy stories. You know, no one had any juice. But the one general collective is that everyone loves you and everyone respects you.
I get a lot of love. You know what it is? I give a lot of love, and I do this because I really enjoy what I do, and I genuinely give a fuck about people. And I think that comes through. I'm not driven by money. I'm not driven by power. I just want everybody to win.
Yeah,
especially people of color.
Yeah, you take let me see if I could get this word out. You take a philanthropical type of you're a philanthropist. You have a genuine give back about you, and that's what excited me so much. It's like
I'm an empath. Like I just really genuinely feel for people. I really want people to win.
Which is great. And I do the same thing. I've been fucked over so many times in this industry that when people ask me for advice, I'm more than willing to give it. Like I'm literally like,
I don't want to see them get screwed.
Yeah, I'm like, let's jump on a Zoom call right now, or let me record like a message to you and be like, this is what it is. No, they are scamming you. You should not be able to buy a blue check. No, if they want your social, it's definitely fugazi. Like stay away from that. But
exactly.
But I give my heart, to these artists because I don't want them to see how bad, they can get fucked, because artists are starving and it's so saturated out there that people are willing to sell their souls and literally wipe their ass with it as long as it gets them fame. They think that the money
is a drug.
Is. Instagram is a drug. The attention is a drug. The people that are posting 17 selfies a day like that just to get the likes, it's an attention drug. It's like a validation. It's like, okay, people like me. It's like, we're the vainest, this generation is the vainest generation in the world, because that constant validation, which is needed on a micro basis, like it's literally like every minute of the day, attention is needed.
That's got to be hard. I mean, I just watched a president do that. So, it's like it must really suck to be. I'm sorry you were taking a sip when I said that, but that
was great. Really, like that was worth choking on it. That was great.
I mean, it's a need for some people. It's not a want. It's like you and I needing food or air. Some people need fame. I didn't mean to go off on this tangent, though. I'm sorry. You said that you had somebody you wanted to talk about.
No.
I'll
I'm
bring
saying
them.
there's somebody that's gonna pop in at some point or another. You know,
Oh, okay.
they said they were dialing in, so I just wanted to give you a heads up so you weren't like, what the fuck? You're just springing someone on me. What the hell? But I guarantee you, it'll be it's a blast from the past. One of my good friends, a mentor also in this game, also to a lot of people. So I was saying that when I reached out to a whole bunch of people to get, some cool stories, like it's like I reached out to like Layla Steinberg, to see if she had any like cool stories, with you, her and Pac, I reached out to
I came to Pac after her, so she wouldn't have had any.
okay, so I guess that's why she didn't answer. It's all right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just figured, two strong women in the industry, of course, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast. I thought maybe there might have been some interaction, but I spoke to DJ EFN from Drink Champs, who sends all the love in the world. You should go. You should be on Drink Champs. There's no question.
I haven't done it yet. I will. I absolutely will. I have to be in Miami to do it, and I just haven't been to Miami in a minute, but I will at some point. I love Noriega and I love EFN.
Oh, they're the great. Okay, we are letting him in. Let's see what we got. I don't know if you can see him yet. He's connecting to his audio.
Oh my God.
Wendy Day!
Turn your phone, Rob.
Wendy Day!
How are you?
I'm good. Look at you.
I love your hoodie. I am
Happy
the
New Year.
vote. You must be happy today.
That's what's up. Really quick, I know this is your moment. I know this is your time here. I just want to give you a bouquet of flowers and say we love you. We appreciate everything you've done for the hip hop culture.
Thank you so much.
And God bless you.
Thank you so much.
And welcome to the Verified Podcast.
There you go.
I'm so humbled by that.
So let me just introduce, real fast, just to the guests out there. This is Mr. Rob Love. He's a legend in the hip hop community. Lead executive, at the legendary label DefJam for several years. Did marketing campaigns for some of the biggest artists in the world. Everybody went head to head, with Leo Cohen about marketing campaigns, and basically,
mentioned that he went out on tour with BMF. That had to be amazing.
Wendy!
I don't mean to blow you up.
No, now you got to speak on it, Rob. That's it.
Oh man, I can't wait to get into the BMF stories, man. Wow.
Hey, listen, the floor is yours. While you're here, you might as well, or you can.
I don't know if we got enough tape. You remember when you used to film with tape and the tape run out? We're like,
Listen, I still have my DA88, tapes when I first went into the studio. I still have one of my first reels. The first studio session I went into, there were still reels that I had to pay for. It was like $120 for the big fucking silver reel. It's like stored at my parents' house somewhere. I doubt I could even work it. But yeah.
I wonder if it's all brittle, and like I wonder what happened to it. Like I wonder what happens to those tapes, 30 years later, 40 years later.
Probably caused cancer.
Probably.
Yeah, but Rob, we have enough tape, but you can save that for your own show, which appears every Thursday, called Behind the Records, where he interviews some of the biggest
awesome,
artists.
Right? Rob, I love what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. And it feels really good and therapeutic for me to do it, because like sometimes when you're running so fast in present day, you don't really recount those steps that you've taken.
Correct.
And then when you turn around and you look and you see all these footprints all over the place, you go, wow, I've been places, like I've done things, it's a great feeling to know that you've accomplished, even though people don't give you credit, even though people don't give you awards or salute you or flowers, you self-flowercate yourself. Dang, I just made another word, self-flowercate.
I love that.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Like
so I'm gonna flowercate you and give you flowers.
Thank you, love.
Bouquet of love to you, Wendy Day.
I appreciate you so much. You're such a sweetheart. Look at those plaques behind your head. That's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's the footprints, what I was talking about,
Yes.
So it's nice to turn and look and say, wow, I did that. Really, I did that. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to keep you. Be blessed. Yo, JopauL, appreciate you having me on your Verified Podcast.
Listen, I appreciate you for everything. You've been such a mentor, in what I do in my transition from,
and an inspiration.
He's been an inspiration to everyone. I keep telling him every day. I was like, you're a legend. He's like, I'm just a regular person. I was like, you're a legend.
He's more than a legend. Like, and I'm talking about him like he's not here, right? And it's so hard for our generation to stay relevant, and Rob has stayed relevant, and that's, to me, even more important than the fact that he's an icon and a legend. And I'm sorry to embarrass you, Rob, but suck it up.
Okay. I'll take it. I'll take every gift. I'll take every comment. I take all the energy that I can because I need it. And
when did you leave DefJam? What year did you leave?
2003, and I did 2004.
Okay,
2004, I did Clive Davis at J Records.
Okay, got it. I didn't realize you. For some reason I thought it was like 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. 2007, 8.
No, my blueprint it was still there. So I don't know what they did with it. Maybe they got rid of all the manuals and just say, we're gonna start all over. We're gonna be DefJam or DEATH.
DefJam.
It's a shame.
Don't know what it is, but DefJam, if you're watching, you need to holler at me. I'm signing off, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob. Love you.
Rob, thank you so much.
Love you.
Everyone, check out Rob. Yeah, check out Rob Love, his show Behind the Records, IG Live, awesome. every Thursday, 5 o'clock on the West Coast, 8 o'clock on the East Coast. Hashtag I am the vote. Hashtag justice for Lennon Lacey. Hashtag Behind the Records. This is Rob Love.
Absolutely. You can check us out on Clubhouse as well. You know what I'm saying? For all you iOS users.
I have an Android, that's why. And they haven't got out of beta yet. So I can't I got to buy an iPad and sign on Clubhouse.
You should. It's a little ratchet, but it's pretty cool.
I've been hearing because Rob lets me
bring your wrench. Ratchets versus wrenches.
I love that. Bring your wrench. Yes.
On that note, I'm out.
Bye, Rob.
Peace and love, my brother.
Right, thank you, guys.
What an awesome surprise that was.
Oh, thank you. He's such an amazing guy, and
yes,
it's like sometimes like almost like he was saying when he was like, I got to think back and be like, did I do that? Did I do that? When somebody like him, and I wouldn't say take like he's taking me under his wing or anything like that, because where it's really a very, very just friendly, respect type of thing. When someone like him just like calls me out of nowhere and just like this, yo, Joe, what are you doing? And talks to me as if I'm like a regular, like one of the people that he associates with on a legendary basis. It's like, okay, maybe I'm doing something right. I'll tell you one funny story. We were on his birthday party during the pandemic and on Zoom. So, it's like 12 o'clock at night. I'm like drinking. I'm like showing weed to the camera and stuff like that. I'm wearing like stupid glasses, and making a fool of myself. And because I'm a Scorpio also, and I didn't get to celebrate my 40th birthday, like I wanted to. I had to do it by doing a double podcast that day, which,
that's good.
I mean, it's work. You know what I'm saying? It kept me occupied at least.
Yeah.
So in his birthday party, so I'm going nuts, and I'm like, let me see who else is on the call. So I scroll, and all of a sudden I see a guy like with like a big tapestry in the background. He's sitting Indian style, and I'm like, oh my God, that's fucking Russell Simmons. I'm making a fool of myself, and he's sitting there in Bali, like enjoying the birthday party, and I'm like, oh my God,
meditating, or in a yoga pose.
Yeah, but the coolest thing was he signed off the birthday party by saying, in true DefJam fashion, thank you all for coming out. God bless and good night. I literally,
that's
thank
awesome.
God I was wearing my glasses because I was shedding a tear. I was like,
yeah.
I'm a fan. I was like, did I just witness that shit? I was like, wow. So
awesome.
So anyway, I'm glad that that was a good surprise, for you.
It was an awesome surprise.
Rob Love, thank you so much for tapping in. I really appreciate you. So anyway, so you're traveling back and forth to Philly, you know,
Yes.
and you're getting your degree in
FM studies.
AFAM studies.
Yeah, African American studies.
Okay, so take me from there.
So then after that, I started dating a guy in Montreal, and it was a great relationship because I couldn't speak French very well and he couldn't speak English very well. So we really melded great. You know, we
Yeah,
couldn't really understand each other. So no problems with that. And
but the international language of love.
exactly, exactly. And I was working for Time Life at the time, selling advertising space. So I had access to a ton of research. And one of my boyfriend's friend's father was starting a liquor company, and he was going to import liqueurs from France into the US and Canada. And I had access to all the research in the world. So I just pulled a ton of research that I knew would help him, went up to his office, dropped it on his desk, and said, you know, good luck with your company. And he chased me out of the office. He's like, wait. First of all, who are you? Second of all, you know, what is all this? And I'm like, well, it's research on the US marketplace in terms of alcohol. I thought it might help you to see like where it's going, where it's been, you know, what markets where you could really make good money for liqueurs, et cetera. And he's like, you need to work for me. And I'm like, first of all, dude, I live in New York. I'm making more money than God and I'm living the dream. So, you know, no disrespect, but have a nice life.
Yeah, right. You're a New Yorker at this point, you know, and you're making
Yes. And loving
bucks.
it and loving it. You know, I think I'm making all the money in the world.
What year is this? Just for context, what year is this?
87.
Okay.
1987.
Okay, so Reagan is in office, and the economy is kind of booming.
And
okay.
I'm living in Soho in a loft with my best friend, just living the life. I'm going to the clubs every night, and then
have you been to clubs? Did you go to Studio 54?
No, I was going to rap clubs at that point in time. So I would stay in the clubs and I'd hit the after hours clubs. And then at 7 o'clock in the morning, I would go home and shower, go right to work, and then do a full day of work, and then sleep, and then go back out at midnight the next night. And that was my cycle, right? Having a really good time doing it.
I think we all did that at one point. I remember like going to like the clubs like Friday and Saturday. My earliest memories was, do you remember a club called Cafe Con Leche?
No.
I can't remember what street it was on, but it was known for like breakdancing, you know, and so I was like 13 years old, you know, wow. 14 years old with like the worst fake ID in the world, but it's like they didn't care because it was, you know, like it was dancing.
It was hip hop.
Right. So that was like my earliest memories of like sneaking out to the clubs, going, you know, and breakdancing at this club, and then like having to wake up and then go to, you know, high school the next day, you know, for my like freshman year. So it's like I'm taking the ferry as a 13-year-old kid, you know, in the early 90s, you know,
right
in New York. It's not really that safe, you know. Okay,
not at all.
So you're making buku money, and this guy says, you have to work for me.
You have to come work for me. And he wrote a figure on a piece of paper. He handed it to me, and I was living there a week later. So I married the guy that I was dating to get in the country. What could possibly go wrong with that? I knew him for 9 months. We barely spoke the same language. Yeah, that lasted about 2.5 years.
Yeah, who says you need communication in a relationship?
Who said you need that? Who said you need to know the person you're married to? Fuck that. But I loved it. And that's where I got my master's degree. I got my MBA from McGill when I was in Canada. He and I surprisingly didn't get along that well once he learned English and I learned French. We weren't as compatible as we thought. But what I did was I do what I always do when I'm not sure of something. I just started taking classes. So I learned so much in my time in Montreal. I learned how to speak Russian. Like I learned a lot of shit that I never really used, but I really enjoyed my life, you know? And when I came back to New York, and after a while, I just got really homesick and wanted to come back to New York. That's when I had the opportunity to take time off. It was the first time I ever really had like a chunk of money. So I took the summer off and really spent time deciding what I wanted to do. And summer turned into fall. I was interning on films. I was working with I was an intern at the African National Congress. I did
Really?
some really cool shit. Yep.
That is cool.
I was crashing courses at Columbia University, both the School of Journalism and International Studies. And I would just keep going to class until I finally got caught and they would kick me out. But the great thing is, it was very rare that I would get kicked out because the instructor would be like, wait a minute, you don't belong here, but you really want to study international studies, like as a fan? Like, are you nuts? What, you're taking statistics, at the 5th level? Really? Like, that's how you get your jollies? And it was, I really enjoyed that. So
I mean, because you couldn't get, I mean, the the funny thing, well, not funny, but the real thing is, to keep it in real perspective for all the people that are watching out there. It's like back then, information, was very limited on how you could obtain
there was no internet.
Right. I mean, you had Encyclopedia Britannica, or you had your Commodore 64 computer with whatever discs you acquired that had information on it, and that was still hard to come by. Or you had the library,
and I was a nerd. Like, remember how you said you had a fake ID so you can get into the clubs? I had a fake library card so I could get into NYU's library.
Look at you, you devil.
I was a nerd.
Look at you.
I was a nerd. I was a geek.
I'm a super nerd. The funny thing is that I didn't give a fuck about education back then, but now I find, like, I watch like 5 documentaries a day. Like, I feel like there's nobody that can touch me. I'll go against any rapper in Jeopardy. Rest in peace to Alex Trebek, by the way. But I'm literally super nerd smart. Like, I find like that. A documentary like will keep me occupied. I was like, oh, it's Friday night. I don't really need to go out. I'd be like, I got this fucking kick-ass documentary, but it's gonna take 2.5 hours of my time. And it's like the Matrix plugging in. I'm like, now I've learned all of it. Now I'm that much smarter than you. So,
right.
So you wound up, working for this liquor company once you put that figure on that paper.
Well, now I'm back in New York and I'm crashing classes and I'm living life. So this was after the liquor company. And
what happened with the liquor company? You just like there was a buyout?
Well, yes. It was bought out by Seagram's, and then Seagram's folded all the lines except for one. So they bought the company basically for one line. And it was a mixture of peach and melon liqueur. I don't know if it's still around. I've kind of lost touch with the liquor world. That was also 30 some odd years ago.
Okay, so you didn't have no deal with like no perpetuity clause where you were getting like, a royalty. It was straight buyout.
It was straight. It was, yeah, exactly. And he owned the company. I had no ownership, but he did give me some money when I walked away. And that's why I was able to live in New York without earning a living.
Without going back to work for Time Life with the advertising.
This was after Time Life. So he hit me with money so that I could work for the African National Congress for free and intern on films for free, so I could still pay my rent and survive. And it didn't take much at that point in my life for me to survive. I had a roommate in New York, so I was living pretty frugally, but I was really, really, really happy, just enjoying myself. And one of the classes that I took was at the new school in the village, and it was a class on pop music culture. And I learned from oh God, I'm drawing a blank. Burt Padell. I was drawing a blank on his name. I had to run a Biggie lyric to tell you his name. Stash more cash than Burt Padell in hell. So Burt was teaching a class, and right. And in fact, Puffy was in the class the semester before me. So he kind of came up the same way I did in terms of learning. And I got the idea from listening to Burt teach about helping rappers, like it was my way of giving back. One of the things that he taught was, or that I learned from his class, I'm sure he didn't mean to teach us, was that once an artist in any genre is no longer profitable, nobody gives a fuck about him anymore. So there were all these rappers that were kind of stuck in bad deals that weren't producing the way they were in the
time that they were producing.
Now we're at 92, right? So Eric B. and Rakim and X-Clan, who were my two favorite groups at the time, I was kind of devastated that they were in messed up deals. So I started Rap Coalition out of that angst from taking that class, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Now, now, I mean, I don't want to, overstep my bounds or anything like that, but can Rap Coalition do anything for De La Soul? Or are they like eternally screwed forever from
no, they weren't eternally screwed, and I don't exactly know enough about their situation. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I once had a great relationship with Tom Silverman. I don't know that my relationship would have been good enough to help them. But yes, had they approached me to help them, absolutely I would have. They happen to have really great attorneys, so they didn't need Rap Coalition. Rap Coalition is more for the artists that weren't of the stature of like a De La Soul, that didn't have money and couldn't afford attorneys to help them get out of their deals. Champion for the underdog. Exactly. Okay. All right. I so respect it. It's amazing that, and I don't mean to like, be, trying to like blow smoke up your ass or, like give you all this flattery, but it's a blessing to not only the hip hop world, but to humanity that there is somebody like you out there. Because if more people, and for people that don't know, Rap Coalition is what's called a 501c3, which is a not-for-profit, whether, and she could be charging, a fortune for it, but she obviously, has to, could but won't. Right. But I charge for I run a company called Power Moves, and Power Moves is a company that helps artists that have funding or artists that have investors already on board get to the next level. So we step in, and I have a team of 3 people that help me do that, and it's amazing because it took me I'm at my 29th year. It took me 28 years to really build a team. And it's so much easier and so much better having a bunch of people that I can turn to and say, hey, I need help with this, or I need help, or what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think of this client? No. Or what do you think of this client? Yes. It's really it gives you the opportunity to kind of, do what you want, really. And exactly. I love the name Power Moves, because I'm part of like this like networking entrepreneurial like business community run by Power Moves Prez, Sean Prez, from Bad Boy, and yes. And he sends his regards, by the way. Awesome. So when you said Power Moves, I was like, we do a thing like every Wednesday night, tonight, at 7 p.m. he does an IG live, where it's just, he allows young entrepreneurs to come on and ask him questions, and being that he has, such, tenure within, the hip hop industry, with Puff and everything like that, exactly. He gives gems free of charge. So it's like, and the fact that his name is Power Moves Prez. If you're not doing anything tonight, jump on at 7 p.m. on his live, and say hello. Thank you. It's funny. Back in early 2000, my lawyer sent him a cease and desist letter because he was Power Moves, and I was using the name Power Moves, and he just didn't respond. And my lawyer's like, okay, I think we should really pursue this. And I'm like, why? It's hip hop. Fuck it. That's funny. That's a very cool story. I don't even know what to say after that. But but it's great that you have such ambition that, like, you made a shit ton of money from hip hop with some of the deals that you've done. You could have just sat back and just said, all right, fuck it. I'm just gonna, enjoy life. All right. So now talk to me about the infamous, you need to get to Denny's because you need to eat something. But yes. You got served some M&Ms instead. Yes. And it's funny because I always shy away from the M&M story or the Cash Money story because I've told it so many times, and I just feel like it's so repetitive and it was so long ago. So I'm going to cap the highlights if you don't mind. So let me ask you a different question. Can you remember the metaphor or the lyric that you heard Eminem spit on that tape that you were like, whoa, that's something? Yes. He said something about, and I don't remember it verbatim, but he said something about driving and hitting the median, and then he got home and couldn't find the key to get in. So he wasn't just rhyming double syllables, he was rhyming triple syllables. Okay. And here we are, God, that was 25 years ago, and I still remember. And I'm not somebody that easily remembers lyrics, but I remember like that little piece, and I remember thinking, "Holy fucking shit!" And it came out when he put out his EP Infinite. It was on Infinite, so it's one of those songs, but I don't quite remember which one at this point in time because so much time has passed. But I was so impressed by him, and I had a sense of guilt because I was with Rhymefest and the rapper Rhymefest from Chicago, and Rhymefest really peer pressured me into listening to Eminem's demo tape, and it was a cassette back then. That's how long ago it was. And had he not pressured me to listen to it, I may have returned that rental car and never picked that cassette back up off the floor. You know, I may have never heard of it. So, you know, kudos to him for being the smarter of the two of us and making me listen to Eminem.
I mean, it's a phenomenal story, and rather than you getting so in depth into it, I encourage everyone watch a couple of our other interviews because she talks about it all the time. So rather than bore you about that, I just wanted to know.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
because I've told it so many times. It's like, wow, you're gonna feel my energy deplete.
Yeah, when I do my research, there's times that I'll ask like an artist, like a bio or an EPK, or I'll go to their Wikipedia, and I'll jot down little things. But it's like I wanted to learn, your story. I mean, I have a certain procedure. I mean, I've been an artist, since fucking '96. So
That's awesome.
So I've been. Well, thank you. I didn't make it as big as I'd like to because I couldn't find Wendy to shut me a deal. But now I found, something that, just like you said with COVID, it's been great to you. This has been phenomenal for me because I'm talking to fucking Wendy Day right now. Like, this is like, I probably would have had to pay thousands of dollars to like 3 middlemen back in the day just to get to you, So the fact that I'm able, to get so much of your time is such a blessing. But I've taken COVID, and said, it's not the right time to release music. I don't feel right, doing that. It's just, I feel music different than others. So it didn't feel right. So I was like, well, what could I do? And I was like, I have 20 plus years of relationships because you press to find anybody that I've ever fucked over or I've ever done dirty. Same. I'm always the one, that, got the short end of the stick. I'm the one who always got robbed or fucked or anything.
Same.
So,
but I'd rather that.
Right. So I was like, let me use my relationships. And, like Rob Love, I coined this, quote from him. I turned my passion into dollars, which is I turned my passion for the love of artists into something that I could potentially get paid for. Do I make a little bit of money doing this? Yeah. I mean, I'm able to, I'm already, past the monetization point on YouTube. So I've been making money after my 3rd episode. I already have a bunch of sponsors that, pay me some money to endorse their products. And
congratulations.
It's a slow game, but, baby steps. I'm not afraid to put in that work. So COVID has been.
You said something interesting, and it's such a misconception in the music industry. And I love that you said it. You said, back in the day, you didn't have a Wendy Day to shop you a deal. And the reality is that I couldn't just randomly pick people and shop them a deal. They had to have incredible leverage for the labels to take them seriously. When I shopped Eminem's deal, I shopped for 9 months and nobody wanted to sign him. And I ended up having to do an event called Rap Olympics in order to get him noticed, just to be able to start negotiating a deal for him. And, I took a wicked loss on Rap Olympics. I can't remember. I remember that I was cash advancing my Visa credit card to pay for it. And I remember it took me years to pay it off. I think it was around 10 grand, 10 or 12 grand that I cash advanced to do that.
29.99%. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I worked for the bank. I was a business relationship manager for 10 years for JP Morgan. So
gotcha.
So I learned all the financial aspects of business. So that's what, and I help artists, with that. But go ahead. So you were cash advancing yourself.
Yeah. So you can I learned that without extreme leverage, like no matter how much I loved you or your your raps, I wouldn't be able to just bring you to a label and get you a deal. And so many artists think that that's what it is, that it's a discovery process. Like if they just heard me, they would sign me. And it's not. You've got to reduce their risks. So you've got to put out your own music and build your own buzz, you know? And it's so important for artists to understand that. And so many of my contemporaries don't tell anybody that because they want to be able to go in, find great talent, scoop the talent, sign them to themselves,
and own their publishing.
Yes.
I mean, if artists would just understand just a few principles of finance, where if they look at a record label as said bank,
the bank, right?
Contract, deal, loan, recoup, then you get paid.
Yes.
If you're lucky. If you're lucky.
I don't know many artists that have recouped, to be honest.
Neither do I. But what I was leading to is what the bank, in order to grant you that contract, deal, loan, they have to do what's called a risk assessment, you know, just like any bank would do for a business. And they need to mitigate that risk with certain key factors that are sort of collateralizing that deal for you.
Yes.
So I know that's I just went very banky, nerdy, you know, on people.
No, but that's real. And nobody ever says that. Like nobody from the industry explains that you don't just get plucked out of a group of people and the sky opens up and now you're Drake. That's not it. It's not how it works. It's never worked that way.
Right. Or else
that story sounds good, that somebody got discovered outside of a bathroom, or you know, Biggie was walking down the street and somebody discovered him because they heard him rapping. It doesn't work that way.
It actually it kind of worked for Capone though. So,
did it?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
how did he get discovered?
Capone was put on by Tragedy, you know, and
I love Tragedy.
Shot the Tragedy, Intelligent Hoodlum, and I mean I just interviewed Capone a couple of weeks ago, and the story is great, you know, and he's funny guy. I had Smooth the Hustler who came onto the live and did
love him too.
Yeah, him and Trig were supposed to pop in today and do a surprise, you know, and I'm gonna ream the shit out of him. Me, Smooth, and Trig and Ice, we were in a rap group together called SMG back in the day, called Sex, Money, and Go. I was a different rapper. I was by the name Lyric Enforcer. I don't know if my CD ever came across your desk, you know, back in the day. So
I'm
Capone,
sure it did. At some point, I'm sure it did.
Well, I hope so. I hope you didn't, you know, just throw it at the bottom of the.
No, I used to listen to everything, but as you know, like that's like I could never put somebody on just because I love their music,
right?
You know? But I used to listen to everything that came across my desk. I don't now, but I used to back then.
See, I think, I mean, I don't know what my problem was other than like, so I was I am a white Jewish MC from Staten Island, where if you don't sound like Wu-Tang, it's like, what do you do? But
it's hard, yeah.
But I had one up on people. I had won the Teen People magazine What's Next award for hip hop.
Very cool.
And I was in a rap group with, you know, with some legendary, you know, MCs. So it's like I was already making a buzz for myself. So that's the only reason why I always thought that, like, oh, if I can get this story to Wendy, maybe she could do what she did for Eminem, and you never know. But I mean, subsequently, like you said, the artist needs to bring that buzz where Wendy Day is hearing about them and traveling to Louisiana, you know, to find Cash Money.
Exactly.
Two separate times, and couldn't find them until they needed her. And then the paths met together. So while you like that little segue, right? So,
I love that segue.
And I know you've talked to death about that, but what I want to talk about is, what was it that you saw in them
they
that
put
made
out
you even want to get involved?
They put out 31 albums over a 6-year period of time, and were selling that music out of the trunks of their car. So they didn't really want a deal. They didn't really care about the major labels at all. and I found them through a rapper. I think his name was Pimp Daddy, and I bought it at Peaches. It was a CD, and I flipped it over and I saw the Cash Money logo, and I asked whoever was working at the store, like, who are these guys? And the guy gave me like their whole history and said, they put out music like six different artists every year. And I'm like, oh, I need to find them. That's awesome. And my goal in finding them wasn't just to shop them a deal. At that point in time, I had helped Twista and Do or Die and some artists out of the Midwest really grow their fan base and their numbers. My goal was to help them sell more than 5,000 or 10,000 CDs, which is what they were doing.
I love that. I love that you bring that up, because, and we're not gonna. I know you've talked this to death, so I'll just I'll with my fast talk, and I'll just get it out there. I love that you saw that the only thing that was stopping them was that they were just flooding the market with music too soon.
Correct.
It's like
and they weren't working it long enough.
Right.
They had the money.
Right. They would get the brick, chop it up, sell it. Sell it. Brick, chop it up, sell it. It's like, no, it's like, cut that shit a little bit, make it last, grow those numbers, get that money up there. So it's like, rather than selling
so the first album that I put out with them, we did 75,000 units instead of I think the most they had sold at that point was Chopper City in the Ghetto, which was 25,000 CDs.
So in percentage wise, you actually have something tangible now. It's like, I've brought a 30% increase in your numbers to the table. And so more like there's the philanthropy. You brought that education to them,
so they could keep doing it long after I was gone. Yes.
Right.
And then we started chopping the deal.
Exactly. Even to the point where they kind of fucked you out of the deal and you had to sue them and get your money.
Exactly.
Back.
As everybody does. I didn't know that back then. I didn't understand why I had to sue them to get paid. But
can I ask you a weird question that, and I don't know if I'm out of line for saying that. So, Birdman, I love you. I'm not trying to step on no toes. I put respect on your name. So do you think that wouldn't have happened to you if you weren't white?
No, because there were so many people. I thought that at first. I thought maybe because I'm female, maybe because I'm white. I just didn't really know. Maybe
that was my next
Southern. But there were so many people, like, I couldn't afford to sue them right away. They really kind of fucked me financially. And I had to go back and regroup. I got evicted out of my house in Brooklyn at that point in time. Like, I had to worry about survival. And then once I was surviving again, then I could go and sue them. So it took me about a year to really get back on my feet. And when I went to sue them, there were like 30 people in front of me. So I wasn't the only person that didn't get paid. And once I saw that, I realized, oh shit, they don't pay anybody. Like, they didn't pay the Fruit of Islam for being their security. How do you not pay the Fruit of Islam? How do you not pay somebody that's keeping you alive? It's just, you know what I mean? Like, I just didn't get it, and maybe they're different today. I don't mean to imply that they stayed the same. I'm different than I was.
Everything that we're talking about is a documented fact, of
history.
So it's not like
all over Google.
Right. We're not saying that that's how they act now, because Birdman, I love the assignment, because we can make some money together. But
you can. Yeah. You'll never get paid. But I'm here all week.
Oh, there we go. That was great. That was great. I needed that right there. So,
but in fairness, they are really geniuses. Like, I didn't build Cash Money. I just saw the value. It was like a diamond that just needed to be polished a little bit. And I brought the experience that they were lacking, and they brought the talent and the marketing genius and the grind to it.
Oh yeah.
They just applied a formula that I happen to know because I've been doing it longer than they had.
They're part of history. The fact that they were able to put all of that music together, and blow up the way they did, it was such an iconic era of music. Girl, you look good, won't you back there? So, I remember smacking my first booty, to that song. So it's It's just a great story. So I encourage everyone, go check out a bunch of her other interviews. She gets more in depth with that. So and Wendy, I know I've taken up a lot of your time, and I don't want to overstep my boundaries at all. I'm just having a great time with this conversation, and we could probably talk forever. I wanted to ask you a couple more questions, and then I'm gonna let you go. But I would love if we could chop it up again, at a later
I would
time.
love that too,
because there's so many jewels that I know that you have for my viewership, even though it's not like in the millions yet. I have high expectations, so everyone, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, because word of mouth, it's grassroots. Okay, it still works. That's the grind. What advice do you have for an artist right now who thinks that they do not need some sort of sustainable budget to compete with everybody else?
I think if they think that, they're already fucked in the gate. So I guess my advice would be to go learn how the industry works, because that tells me they haven't done enough research to realize how to put yourself on in this industry. I mean, even if you're somebody like Russ that wants to stay independent and not signed to a label, or whoever, you still need to have money to market and promote. You need money to move around. You need money to sustain you. You need money to record. You need beats. You need every aspect of this industry costs you either money in terms of cash or money in terms of relationship. So you need to have something in order to, if I'm not going to buy beats, I got to know some producers who are willing to work with me and lend me beats, until I can get to the level where I can pay them. So,
and hopefully they have studios where I can record it.
Absolutely.
And hopefully they'll master it for me, and because there's costs that are, I try to, like I said, I teach a lot of people, and I do consulting for people. Some I charge because, when I get really in depth, and I'm doing it for a bunch of people, then we're talking like $10 each, so I'm not getting rich, but I tell them to treat this not like a game. Okay, you might call it the music game, but it's the music business, and you need to treat it like it's a business. And each individual song, unless you're doing a whole body of work, is its own separate business. There is marketing, there's promotion, there's artwork, there's recording, there's all of these what's called opportunity costs. In economics and business 101, that's what they teach you. There's opportunity costs, in part of business, and you need to factor in a plan. How are you going to pay for it? Your talent and good looks, as good as you look, it's not going to pay for all of that shit, because it has to. So you say they're fucked from the gate if they do not know.
Yeah, if they think that they can just put it out there and they're so talented that it's going to take off with no effort, it's just going to sit there. In fact, it's going to sink like a stone in water, unfortunately. So the guys that get it and know how to stand out and know how to market and promote, even if you have a small budget, you need to have some sort of movement to attract somebody that can help you get to the next level, whether it's an investor or an independent label, or you might get lucky and sign to a major label. But the great thing is that in today's world, you don't need a label anymore. You can do this yourself. You just need a budget and the know-how, and some talent helps.
Yeah, just a little bit of talent and a lot of luck. Luck. Okay, next question. So with the current standard, and I'm going to get kind of industry nerdish, but this is like the perfect, perfect person to, who understands how things work in the industry. Given the current standard of how the split goes between artist and producer, 50%, 50%, but the allocated costs for promoting said single are incurred by only artist, but yet 50% is still owned by the producer when he's not doing anything to help get that song out there. When today, because of how saturated the market is, I know this is a very open-ended question, I'm fucking sorry, I'm getting nerdish, I'm sorry. So for how the music is promoted today digitally, with streaming and digital marketing, and having to put money into a video and all the allocated costs of marketing that song, do you think it's right that the producer just sits back and collects that 50% still?
I do. And I think they should do more to help promote than just sit back. But let me put that aside for a minute and just address the real meat of what you're asking me. It's a production driven industry, and sometimes you can have the most amazing beat with an incredibly whack rapper, and it's gonna grow and it's gonna move because of the sound of the music. Music is what drives. People are going to hum a tune before they recite the lyrics, so I don't want to diminish the importance of the producer. The great thing about being a rapper is that you're going to go and do live shows, you're going to sell merchandise. There's so many other ways for you to make money that the producer doesn't share in, that when you look at a career and you look at the overall income, not just one stream or another, but you look at the overall, it's almost leaning more, it's weighted more towards the rapper than the producer. So from where I sit, I almost see it like the producer's getting fucked. But when you're a brand new artist and you need the producer and you can't do it without them, I could see where a newer artist might feel like, man, I'm giving up half the money and this producer's not doing shit, but out there selling tracks to hundreds or thousands of artists. It's so oversaturated today with tracks. Back in the day, you could be a producer and be giving out thousands of tracks and have people rap on thousands of tracks. Today, that's not it. It's not the same. There's so many producers. It's really kind of spread out over, hundreds of thousands of producers. But if a producer really wants to be helpful and build a career, they should really jump in and help the artist, especially newer artists, market and promote, either work out some sort of a deal per song where maybe you put up a little bit of money to help the artist grow so you can grow as a team, united to come together, or at the very, very least, promote it to your social media following. It costs you nothing as a producer to post a song and get your friends to repost it and really help it grow legs and give it some life,
Okay, great answer. Great answer. That's exactly what I wanted to hear, because that's been the current debate, out there, about, should the producer do more? It's like, we're the artist,
the good ones do.
Yeah. I mean, now I require that. If I'm going to work with a producer, it's like, and I'm not like trying to be like, oh, I got a blue check, so you got to do what I say because I'm verified. But I have been in the game for a long time, so I feel like I do have a right to charge kind of for my services. So it's like, if I'm going to do a song with you and you are a no-name producer, and I don't mean to downplay anyone, it's like, you're either going to put up half of the money, to create the video, handle my recording costs, and help promote the record by promoting it on your social media by doing a paid for promoted ad. Like, I'm not taking that money. You're promoting it on your own social media. So we're doing it collectively, the power of two instead of just one. So I require that now, because, or else it's not worth my time. It's like, I'd rather do a podcast, and, sit in my house and, smoke weed and drink and make money, talk to a legend like Wendy Day for hours. Fucking, this is some cool shit. This is crazy. When I told my father that I was like, I'm interviewing Wendy Day. He's like, from back in the day. I was like this, like, because he knows that I was like, we were always like, oh, we got this lane to Wendy Day, and we're gonna get her my CD, and like that was the, after when I won the Teen People magazine What's Next award, my father thought he was like, oh, he's gonna be famous, which is a great story, going back to like when you were sending like the articles that you were doing like to your mother for validation. When I was rapping, my father, was a CPA, my mother's a teacher. They were like, you need to be a lawyer or a doctor, like why are you being a rapper? But they always said that I had a certain amount of chutzpah, like it's a Yiddish word for like guts, so my father, he was coming back from Florida, and he was at the airport, and he calls me, and he's crying, and he's like, I see this full page picture of you in Teen People magazine, and I couldn't be so proud of you. So from that point, it's like, okay, there was the validation.
Got it. Yeah. I love it.
You know, I could do this now. So
yes, now it's okay.
So what was getting to know Pac like?
It was pretty awesome. I mean, he had an incredible sense of humor. He was really a funny guy. He was somebody that I didn't embrace immediately.
Right, you didn't like him because he was too loud and boisterous.
Yes. I remember standing in line at the Palladium. I used to live near the Palladium on 14th Street.
I missed the Palladium.
New York. And it was great because I lived in the next block. So they saw me all the time. So I used to be able to, like, you know, go through security quickly. I used to be able to hang out in the DJ booth instead of being like on the dance floor. And as an introvert, that's a wonderful thing because I wasn't somebody that wanted to be, you know, around thousands of people. I was happier being with DJ Cap in the you know, rest of soul. In the
Big
DJ,
Cap, rest in peace. You can't sit with us still. They can't sit with us still.
Yep. But I would rather be hanging out with him or DJ Enough or even Funk Flex in the booth and really getting a feel for like the business side of it, like the behind the scenes side of it. But Pac would come up and I'd be in the VIP line ready to go in and he'd be there and he'd be so loud and causing so much drama and commotion. I remember getting off the line and going to the back of the line because I just didn't want to be near all that, you know, all that. And that's kind of what he represented to me until everything happened at Quad Studio. And I realized that he wasn't just a conspiracy theorist, but people were really trying to fuck him up. They were really trying to hurt him.
Well, what was it that like kind of like, because you didn't really, you know, care for like his, you know, loud personality, but was it that he was like, you know, you were trying to be another champion for the underdog because people like he's in New York from the West Coast.
He was out here alone, and he got
somebody that you didn't like. You actually sent help for them. It's like
many times I've pulled artists out of deals that I hated. I've helped artists that I thought were whack.
Yeah, but this is violence we're talking about. We're talking like the funny thing is, my podcast was set up to be filmed at Quad Studios.
Oh wow!
So, and that was like the whole allure to it. Yeah, the same place, you know, with Pac and everything like that. So tell the people why you just decided to, you know, pick up the phone and, you know, and call the Nation of Islam and say
because he needed help. That's really the answer. I saw myself as somebody who was an advocate for rappers, and what I thought about them didn't matter, whether I liked their music or didn't, whether I liked them as people or didn't. I saw that as my job to help people that needed help and had no place else to turn. And I had a resource. And it was very easy for me to pick up the phone. I had pulled D.A. Smart, who was managed by Mustafa Farrakhan, off of RCA Records. So I had the pipeline. I had a relationship with Brother Arthur out of New York, you know, who was the main Fruit of Islam guy that came to all the hip hop stuff. So I had a resource to help him. It was it was 2 phone calls. Why wouldn't I?
It's fucking beautiful. That's
why wouldn't I? Because
people are not as good-hearted, you know, as you'd like to think that they are. There's an expression, you know, a dime a dozen, you know, is, you know, you're a diamond in the rough because there's not a lot of people that would use their resources for somebody that they don't like. You know, you might have thought like, oh, he probably fucking deserved it. He's probably loud to the wrong person, you know. But it's
what I thought at the time.
Right, you have such a big heart.
What I thought.
You were able to.
I thought he was guilty.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I got to know him. You know, he wrote to me from Rikers, and he thanked me. And you know, in the letter, I'm somebody that's just I'm all about truth, and it's very hard for me to let a misconception go. Sort of like what you just said when you said if I had a line to Wendy Day, she could have put me on. I couldn't let that go. I had, you know what I mean? I had to say something to you. It's the same thing. So he wrote me a letter saying it's really nice to know that somebody who loves my music would look out for me. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. No. Let's not get this twisted. First of all, I'm not a fan. Your beats are whack. Like, dude, you're not a lyricist. Like, no, sorry, wrong. I didn't do this because I'm a fan. I did this because you're out here alone and you needed help and somebody had to help you. So I helped you. And my honesty bonded me to him and him to me, because we're both similar in that respect. And as I got to know him, yes, he was loud and boisterous. Today we would call it being a troll. If I could put it in today's terms, he was a troll on Instagram, and I hate trolls. So even though somebody's a troll, it doesn't make them a bad human being. He turned out to be an amazing human being. And when I got to know the Pac behind the big loud voice, and he very much was. I'm not saying he wasn't what we saw. I'm just saying he had other sides to him than that. That was all I saw, because I saw him in public. But once I started getting to know him as a person, like I would send him books and we would have conversations back and forth about the books that he was reading. It got cut off pretty quickly because he got caught smoking weed in prison and they killed his package privileges. Up until that point, I was able to send him Machiavelli the Prince. I was able to send him Black Boy, which is a great book. It's one of my favorite books. I was able to send him The Spook Who Sat by the Door, and we were able to have conversations about the books that I was sending him.
Sorry, Zoom technology. I got a phone call right in the middle of.
Of course you did.
But sorry, I learned to decline that, and I'm gonna kill them if they try to call me again.
That's fine.
Now, was there any? When you say like Tupac, it wasn't a lyricist. I'm a huge Tupac.
I was wrong, by the way. I was wrong.
All right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, any Tupac lyrics stand out to you that you were like, oh
yeah, I really like.
Genius.
He made a difference. Like Brenda Had a Baby was amazing. Like he really, really made a difference. But I was judging it off of the Digital Underground Tupac and first album Tupac, where he didn't necessarily have access to the best producers on the West Coast. He didn't have access.
He killed it on Same Song. He killed it on that one.
Yes. Yes.
Especially when he came out, and plus he had it was on the movie soundtrack. What was it? I can't remember, with Dan Aykroyd and whatever the name of that 80s movie was. I just remember I was like Tupac had bars even when he was with Digital Underground. So I remember this I even remember the first person who introduced me to Tupac, because East Coast, it was East versus West, and I'm a 90s hip hop guy. So the fact that I embraced Tupac and Cash, I can name the two people that introduced me to Cash Money and Southern artists, and the person who introduced me to Tupac. So I fell in love with Tupac. As soon as I heard Me Against the World, and I heard him say he's like, more bodies being buried. I'm losing my homies in a hurry. They relocating to the cemetery. Got me worried, stressing, my vision blurry. The question is, will I live? No one in the world loves me. I was like,
mind-boggling.
He's a genius. I was like, that was the way
he was a genius.
I was.
He had this ability, like he believed that there was a formula, and that he discovered the formula right before he went to prison or to jail, and he spent his time writing while he was locked up, knowing that he was going to come out and go double platinum, triple platinum, because he felt that he had cracked the code. And that was both an interesting lesson in frustration for him, because like he felt like he was boxed up and put aside just as he discovered the formula for great wealth, and it was also.
Did you ever get a sense that he felt like he sold his soul to the devil when he accepted the death row, contract to get him out?
No, he knew what he was doing. We argued about that, but he felt like he didn't sign to death row because he needed them as a label. He knew he could go anywhere and be successful. Remember, he thought he had the formula. He needed out and he needed protection because he felt like, and I don't agree with this, I'm just going to tell you how he felt. He felt like Russell Simmons, Andre Harrell, and Puffy came together and created this cabal on the East Coast and could crush him. And it's really funny, like, even for me to say that to you out loud, because back then we all knew black folk didn't work together. Like unity in the community was a dream. We couldn't even get a fucking distribution company off the ground getting people of color to work together. So they were not coming together to crush Tupac. It just wasn't realistic. But he felt that, and he felt that Suge could protect him from that cabal, that dangerous cabal.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
His plan was to deliver it was a 3-album deal. His plan was to deliver 3 albums and then keep it moving. What he didn't understand was you can't just walk into a label, drop 3 albums on the desk and say, bye, see you, have a nice life. It doesn't work that way. Time constraints, you know, it's really a 3-year, 3-album deal, you know, and it's about acceptance, not about delivery. Like, you can give them all the music you want, but until they actually accept the delivery, it's not contractually considered delivery. And he didn't know that at that point in time, even though he had me to explain it to him. His philosophy was, no, Suge's my homie, he'll get it. And he was trying to leave Death Row at the time that he was killed. So of course, most of us in the industry thought he was assassinated by his label. He wasn't, but that's kind of how it looked, you know, from our point of view.
Right. I mean, if anyone's seen, like, you know, like Vlad goes into like tremendous detail with like 100 different people that had, you know, even anything to do with it, like the janitor that swept up the cigarette that Orlando Bloom was smoking, you know, in the casino, gives his, you know, account, you know. So I don't even know, like, if he's canceled or not, if we still talk about him. I have no idea what the status is. Yeah, I have a podcast to run, you know, it's called Verified.
Exactly. I have a life to live.
So that's what I do. So before I let you go, with every monumental thing that you've done, I have to imagine that there has to be some sort of maybe book in the works, or at least like maybe a short like Netflix series, like A Day with Wendy, you know, like something cool like that, because it's like I feel like you've done too much, you know, for them to just hear it on these different podcasts. I feel like it needs to be on a platform for the world to see, you know, like without me sugarcoating it and just giving you 17,000 bouquets of flowers. It's like you've lived an amazing life, you know.
I have lived an amazing life. I was never somebody that was really driven by talking about myself or sharing my life. Maybe someday when I'm living on an island somewhere and I'm retired and I have nothing else to do, maybe I'll write a book. I'll let somebody else turn it into a movie once I'm dead and gone. But I feel like most of the cool stuff that I've seen is stuff that I wouldn't really talk about publicly anyway. You know, we've got a lot of street shit that happens in the music industry.
Okay, and, that's good. I respect.
You know, the buck stops here. So I could write a book about the more fluffy mainstream shit that I've seen. I don't know how interesting it would be, but if I'm going to take the time to write a book, I want to write a book about how to make money with music, you know, how to start your own record label, how to put out your own music and market it and promote it. Like, I'm building a website to do that, because I don't think this generation really gives a shit about books. So I'm doing more visual stuff to help people.
Do a lot. Just put memes and cartoons.
Yes. If I could, I would.
Yeah, just put a meme with like a graph and scale, and you know, and realize that
I would.
These streams really aren't worth what you think they are. What
exactly.
You know, speaking about streams, you know, like this IG Live, when you play music, they shut you down.
Yes.
Do people realize that IG is shutting somebody down for a 0.00001 of a cent of a stream.
I don't think they realize that. And it's crazy to me. You know, I posted something today on my Instagram, which is at Rap Coalition. And it was sort of a tongue-in-cheek article, like a parody article that I read in Music Business Worldwide. And it was some guy, and you can tell by the way it's written, like he's trying to be sarcastic almost, but he's like, okay, you know what? Let's get rid of all the record labels. Let's have the artists go right to Spotify, and here's all the artists on Spotify divided by the amount of money Spotify made last year. Okay, each artist is going to get like $100. And it was like, ha ha ha, isn't that ridiculous? And then he's like, well, you know what? Let's forget about all the artists on there. Let's just take the ones that have streamed more than 100,000 streams. Let's divide up the annual money between all of them. And it was like $1,000. And he really made a point, even though he was trying to be funny, he really made a point. Like, you cannot just stream and survive anymore, unless you're Drake. You know, Drake can do it all day, every day, you know, but if you're like a mid-tier artist or an artist that's really only had like one or two big songs, you can't live just from streaming. You've got to have sync fees. You've got to have merchandise. You've got to have endorsement deals and sponsorships. Like you got to be an entrepreneur, an artist entrepreneur today to survive. And that was so crystal clear. And that's the message that I'm trying to get through to artists. Like, look at your music as almost like a promotional tool.
Exactly.
You know, I still want you to make money.
Right. But you are the brand. You have to think about yourself as a brand. And with the brand comes a budget. And with that budget, you know, it has to be able to sustain the different things that you need to do in order to be seen. I make this metaphor in a lot of podcasts that where all artists are running the New York City Marathon with cinder block sneakers in a 4-foot pile of sludge. What are you going to do to chisel off those cinder block sneakers and then stand on the motherfucker's shoulders who's standing in the sludge so that you could even be seen in that crowd? Something has to be different, you know, in that aspect. So you know, I like to give these like cool little metaphors. This way they can be like, fuck, it's that hard? Yes. Especially with no money.
But it's worth it. It's worth every bit of it. And to the people that are watching this that aren't artists, it took me 6 years to start making music, to make money in music. It took me 10 years to start making like real money, but it took me like 12 or 13 years to make money to be able to support myself just doing this. Like, it doesn't come fast. It's not an industry where you can get rich quick. It just doesn't. That's not real. It's not anymore. Anybody's telling you that, it's bullshit.
Right. Like, I mean, when you could sell a CD for like a tangible CD for $5, you know, and you could you have enough money to print up units to go and sell those units. Right. Then you can make some money quickly. Not quickly, but you know, at least it's tangible.
But you do okay. You would do okay.
Right. And you don't have to declare it if you don't want to, because we don't know. We don't know anything. But anyway. Wendy, in closing, what I wanted to say to you is that you're an absolute legend. I appreciate all the time that you've given us. Tell everyone where they can find you, how they can get involved in whatever you're doing, plug all your websites, do everything you got to do. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm really going to plug Instagram most heavily because that's where I spend most of my time. So if people are trying to reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter, or Facebook, I'm probably going to miss it. Shit, I've been to Facebook, I think 5 times in my life. It's just, I don't care what my friends from high school are doing, the people that never moved out. I just don't give a fuck.
I lost my password when I got a new phone for Facebook, and I haven't been happier. I haven't been on Facebook in months. It's fucking great.
Exactly. So I'm at Rap Coalition on all social media, but Instagram is really my platform of choice. I want to plug my YouTube channel because there's a ton of free information on there. That's youtube.com/thisiswendyday. youtube.com/thisiswendyday. There's a couple hundred videos there on how to build a career, how to make money in music, how to choose.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I watched a bunch of them. I was like, this is just, like me. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like, this is the stuff she could be getting paid for. And I was like, philanthropist. She's got to help people. She got champion for the underdog.
I can't help it. Yeah, I can't help it. I got a new one coming in February too, and I thought about monetizing it, and I couldn't do it. So I've got a new video series that I'm pretty excited about coming. It's called Inspiration. And then the last one is my for-profit site for power moves. It's helpfulangel.com. And we only work with artists that have investors. It takes about $250,000 budget and up. So for the folks that do have investors and do have that budget, we exist to help you build a career and get to the next level in the music industry.
With the legendary Wendy Day. That is phenomenal.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you. This has literally been a 15-year dream to be able to speak to you. And this is like I said before, I was like, this is so fucking cool.
Well, let's not make it another 15 years, okay?
Yes. Let's stay in touch. I love your story. I love what you do. I wanted to leave you with a quote of what I apply to life, and I say that we are all here for a small cup of coffee. I'm just trying to drink it while it's still hot. I am your host. I am JopauL. This has been the Verified Podcast. You've been chopping it up with the legendary Wendy Day from Rap Coalition. We are brought to you by Radio Pushers and Results in No Hype. Make sure you check us out at theverifiedpodcast.com or do the swipey up thing with YouTube and subscribe and do all of that good stuff. But we are out of here. I love y'all. Peace and love.